Ready for a real head-scratcher.
Oh, I love a good cosmic puzzle.
Today, we're diving into one that's been around for ages. Is there a center of the universe?
Ah, a classic. And one that takes us right to the heart of cosmology.
We'll be navigating this deep dive with the help of Ethan Siegel's Starts with a Bang articles.
He always has a knack for breaking down even the most complex concepts.
Exactly. So where do we even begin when trying to picture something as massive and mysterious as the universe?
Well, a good starting point is to acknowledge this incredible fact. The universe is expanding.
Right, and to grasp this whole expansion thing, we need to talk about the cosmic microwave background. The CMB,
Right? The CMB, it's like a faint echo of the Big
the
Bang.
oldest light we can observe, right?
Yeah, imagine the universe's baby picture, a snapshot from about 380,000 years after the Big Bang.
Wow. And what's really cool is that it's amazingly consistent no matter where we look.
It's incredibly uniform, you're right.
Okay, but I remember reading that it's not perfectly
Okay,
uniform.
look, good memory. Yeah, it's not perfectly smooth.
So what's the big deal about those tiny variations?
Ah, those tiny temperature fluctuations, they tell us a lot more than you might think.
More than meets the eye, huh?
Exactly. We're talking variations on the order of millionths of a degree.
Millionths of a degree. Seems awfully small.
I know, right? But those tiny temperature differences, those actually reveal something amazing. Our motion through space.
Wait, hold on. You're saying that even though the CMB looks pretty much the same everywhere, those teeny tiny variations tell us we're moving.
Precisely. Think of it this way. Imagine a perfectly still day, no wind at all. Then suddenly you feel a slight breeze.
Okay, I can picture that.
That breeze, that's your clue that you're moving relative to the air around you, right?
Makes sense. So how does this relate to the CMB?
Those temperature variations in the CMB are like that subtle breeze. They tell us that our galaxy, the Milky Way, is cruising along at a pretty good clip,
Hmm?
about 620 kilometers per second.
Wow, 620 kilometers per second. That's pretty fast. But wait, if everything is moving, how can we even talk about a center of the universe?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And this is where our intuition can sometimes lead us astray.
You think our brains might not be wired for thinking about the universe?
Maybe, maybe not. But the thing is, the Big Bang, it wasn't an explosion in space like we usually picture explosions.
What do you mean? It's always described as this massive explosion.
I know. But it's more accurate to think of it as the expansion of space itself, happening everywhere simultaneously.
Okay, so not your typical fireworks show. More like the fabric of reality itself stretching.
You got it. And that's why this idea of a central point of origin, like with an explosion, doesn't really fit with how the Big Bang went down.
So if we try to find the center of the universe by tracing back the movement of galaxies, we're barking up the wrong cosmic tree.
We might need a new metaphor for that. But yeah, it's not as simple as retracing the steps of an explosion back to its starting point.
Okay, so how do we even begin to visualize something as mind-boggling as the universe expanding everywhere at once? I can already feel my brain doing backflips.
It is tricky, isn't it? Our brains, they like to make sense of things, but the universe, well, it doesn't always play by our rules.
I'm starting to realize that.
We're used to things expanding into something else, like a balloon expanding into the air around it. But with the universe, it's the fabric of space itself that's stretching.
Okay, yeah, that's where I get tripped up.
Yeah.
It's like, what's it expanding into? But I think I need a new way to picture it.
How about we try a different analogy? Think of a loaf of raisin bread baking.
Raisin bread, huh?
Oh.
Okay, I'm listening. I do love a good baking analogy.
So the dough, that's the fabric of space-time.
Got it. Space-time dough.
And those raisins scattered throughout, those are the galaxies.
Delicious galaxies. Okay, keep going.
Now, as the bread bakes, what happens?
Well, it expands, right? Gets bigger, fluffier.
Exactly. The dough expands, and as it does, what happens to the raisins?
They move further apart from each other, even though the raisins themselves aren't expanding. It's the dough pushing them apart.
That's it. And here's the crucial part. There's no one center of expansion in that bread dough, is there?
No, it's expanding everywhere at once.
Precisely. Every raisin sees all the other raisins moving away from it.
And the farther away a raisin is, the faster it seems to be moving away, right? Just like in the universe, how the farther away a galaxy is from us, the faster it seems to be moving away.
You've got it. And that right there is why thinking about the Big Bang as an explosion can be misleading.
Because if we tried to trace those movements back to a single point of origin, like we would with an explosion, it would be like trying to find the exact spot in the dough where the expansion began.
Exactly. But there is no single starting point. It's happening everywhere at once,
Yeah.
just like there's no one center to the universe.
Wow. Okay. I think I'm actually starting to wrap my head around this. It's a whole new way of looking at things. But it also makes me wonder, if the universe is constantly expanding like this, does that mean there's an edge? Like, if we kept looking farther and farther out, would we eventually hit a wall and be like, well, that's it. That's the end of the universe?
That's a question a lot of people ask. And it leads us to a really important point about what we can actually observe in the universe.
You mean there are parts of the universe we can't see?
In a way, yes. We can't actually see the edge of the universe.
Even with our most powerful telescopes?
Even then. And it's not because it doesn't exist in some sense, but because of the nature of light and the expanding universe itself. We can only see as far back in time as light has had to travel to reach us.
So our cosmic view has a limit. It's not like we have an unlimited view of everything out there.
Exactly. Imagine it like this. We can only see the light that has had enough time to travel to us since the Big Bang.
Okay, that makes sense. The universe hasn't been around forever, so light from the farthest reaches just hasn't had enough time to reach us yet.
Precisely. What we can observe is called the observable universe. It's like our own little cosmic bubble determined by the age of the universe and the speed of light.
Our own cosmic bubble. Kind of cozy when you put it like that.
Right, but here's the mind-blowing part. The universe itself, it might be infinite.
Hold on. Infinite? You mean it just goes on and on forever?
It might. It's just that the part we can see, this observable universe, is finite. It has boundaries because the universe hasn't existed forever.
Okay, so we have this observable universe that's constantly expanding, but it's not expanding into anything, it's just getting bigger.
You've got it. It's a tough one to grasp, that's for sure.
It's making my brain hurt a little bit, not gonna lie.
And you're not alone there. Even the most brilliant minds in cosmology are still wrestling with all the implications of an expanding universe that doesn't have a center. It's a pretty wild concept.
So if there's no center of the universe, does that mean we're completely insignificant? Just floating around in this ever-expanding vastness with no real place or purpose?
Insignificant? No, not at all. Quite the opposite, actually.
How so? I'm all ears.
Well, if the universe doesn't have a center, then every point can be considered the center.
Whoa, now that's a mind bender. I think I need to hear more about that.
Think back to our raisin bread analogy.
Okay, raisin bread, got it. Delicious and insightful.
Each raisin has its own view of the expansion.
Right, they're all moving away from each other.
And not one of those raisins is more central than any other.
So instead of trying to find this mysterious center of the universe that doesn't exist, we should be trying to understand our own place in this whole crazy, ever-expanding cosmic system.
Yeah, you're getting it.
It's like the universe itself is the journey, not the destination. Right.
I like that. And each new thing we learn, every question we ask, it just expands our understanding of this amazing cosmic dance that we're all a part of.
That's pretty credible when you think about it like that.
Absolutely. And the more we learn about the universe's expansion, the more we discover about where it all began, about how it's changed over time, and even about the nature of space and time themselves.
So we may never actually pinpoint the center of the universe.
Right.
Because, well, it doesn't really have one in the way we usually think about it.
Right.
But the search itself, it takes us on quite a ride.
It really does. It reminds us that there's always something new to learn out there, always more to explore.
And that we're part of something much, much bigger than ourselves.
And that this universe of ours, it's constantly changing and evolving, just like our understanding of it.
It's both incredibly humbling and totally awe-inspiring, wouldn't you say? To be a part of something so vast and mysterious.
Without a doubt. And it's that sense of wonder that keeps us looking up at the stars and asking those big questions.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've reached the outer limits of our deep dive for today.
Until next time.
But for our listeners, the journey doesn't end here. If the universe has no center and is constantly expanding, what does that mean for our understanding of place and origin? It's a question worth pondering as you gaze up at the night sky. Until next time, keep exploring.